welcome everyone. This is the Yobro Gaming Review. This is our first review of the Arrow TV series, episode 10, known as Blood Debts. I'm Zach.
I'm Wayne.
And this was a difficult episode to get through because they had to go through so much in it. We're going to do a breakdown of what happened, and then we'll give our thoughts on what we liked, what we didn't like, and we'll go from there. So, the episode starts out at the grave that everyone has been wondering about the entire season. Who is it? Who's at the grave? There's been speculation about whether it's Felicity or not, but we see Oliver standing there, and you see Barry walk up, and he tells him that he knows it's not his fault, but he has to end this, and it's his responsibility. All right, so we go back to present day, and you see Felicity at the hospital being rushed in after being shot up in the limousine. You see it cut between that and Oliver fighting ghosts, trying to find Damien Darhk. Okay, so you end up back at the Arrow Cave, and you see all of Team Arrow there. They're all talking, trying to figure out how to find Damien Darhk and how they keep running into dead ends. And Laurel shows up. She's talking about how Felicity is about to go into surgery, and how she thinks Oliver should probably go. And Oliver refuses because right now to him the priority is finding Damien Darhk. So we go to a flashback scene of Oliver on the island. He's already wounded. Conklin has him, and I forgot how to say her name. Tia. If I'm mispronouncing it, slap me around in the comments. But you see him walking them back to the camp. He's talking to him about how he's no longer buying his BS, and he's always known that Oliver was playing dirty and lying. And she's trying to get him to let up on Oliver a little bit because he's hurt, but he's having none because we all know, as I like to call him, Captain Dickhead. So we see them in the hospital, Team Arrow. You see Thea and Laurel and Diggle there, and they're talking to Felicity. Her mom's in there, and they're talking to her about, going into the surgery and how Oliver's not there because he's finding the flowers. And she tells them, I'm going to be okay because they're about to prep her for surgery, and you can see everyone's feeling sad, and it's understandable. She's has nerve damage that might keep her from ever walking. So, and they got the look. She's just looking at them like, hey, I'm going to be okay. Which usually means you're not going to be okay. So we see Diggle go into the cage to talk to Andy, trying to get some intel out of him, but Andy's still kind of being silent, still being a narcissistic, egotistical, mouthy prick. So he's like, I'm not going to talk. And you see Oliver go into Captain Lance's office and tell him that he knows this is probably going to put him in danger because they have one card to play that they haven't played yet. And they understand that's probably going to put Captain Lance under the thumb of Damien Darhk because he knows that he's been talking to them. But he needs their help, and he needs him to tell him where they've been meeting. So Captain Lance, without even hesitation, he pretty much says, hey, no problem. I'll do that. Not an issue. So they go back. He tells him where they are, and then it cuts to Oliver at the building where Captain Lance would always meet Damien Darhk. All the ghosts are the ghosts. That's referring to the people that work for Damien. They're all laid out dead. He goes into the main office, and all he sees is the big anarchy sign. So you see them back at the Arrow Cave, and they're talking about the sign, and they find out that that's Meacham's sign. God, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But, what?
Macom.
Thank you, Macom. It's Macom. You see that they find that that's his, so they're like, hey, we got to track this guy down. He's a step ahead of us. He'll know where to find Damien Darhk. So that's when they start looking for him. So you get another flashback scene Conklin, he brings Oliver and the woman back to the base camp, to the boss of the base there on the island, and he shows them the maps and everything that Oliver's had. So he tells them pretty much, hey, you know what? I put my neck on the line for you, Oliver. He tells Conklin he can do whatever he wants. He can kill him if he wants to. Conklin says no, that he's got a better idea. So you see him dragging Oliver out onto his knees with a whip, and he just starts laying in to Oliver. So we see Diggle at home. He's clearly stressed, and we see his wife come to him, and she's talking to him, and she sees his hand. She says, well, I feel, I wouldn't want to see the other guy. Says the other guy was Andy. And she says, talk to him, and says, he probably feels betrayed. He says, I do feel betrayed. This is Oliver's quest, whatever. He says, but he's just trying to keep him safe. And she says, well, maybe he's got a vendetta. Says maybe he's got a vendetta of his own, because ever since, he found out Andy was doing what he was, that he's not looked at him as brother anymore. So we see Thea and Laurel at the hospital getting ready to go see Felicity, and they're talking. They get on the subject of Thea and her bloodlust, and how Thea says that she's still feeling her bloodlust, but, that she was going to kill Macomb, and that she didn't have control of it. But when Damien Dark had touched her, it subdued the lust that she had. So they go into Felicity's room. She's not there yet, but they see Captain Lance with Felicity's mom. And I guess he's consoling her. And he's just like, oh, and then it's like this awkward moment, like, Dad, you're with Felicity's mom. Why? And he explains to her, look, Felicity's mom's like, oh, I didn't know you were Captain Lance's daughter. Oh, and, she tells her dad, hey, I'm happy for you. You deserve to be happy. So they pretty much squash that right then and there, and I guess everyone's approving of it. They're at the house where they got an address to find Macomb. Thank you. I'll get it. And he was expecting Damien's people, but it says, hey, you all do. And he had these automatic motion sensor weapons set up, just shooting at him. So Oliver shoots an arrow, and it stops that. Well, they end up getting him. But he said something to Thea, because, she said, I'm on fire. He's like, you freed me, thank you. It's like he's obsessed with her now, which is a little creepy, to be honest. We see Oliver, he has Macomb strapped to a pillar, and he's telling him, hey, you're going to tell me where I can find Damien Dark. And before that, they told him, hey, this isn't, Laurel and Thea's like, this isn't how we should do this. We should just turn to the police. Says, we will, after I get the information that I need. We're not talking about this. Like, Oliver in this episode was very like, I'm on a mission. I'm going to do what I have to. He reminded me a lot of the Oliver from season 1 and season 2, which I love that Oliver. So Thea, she's like, Oliver. He's like, what? She's like, you need to hear this. She tells him that Felicity's out of surgery, but he needs to go to the hospital because her mother said that it didn't sound good. So you just see Oliver walking off, kind of hesitant at first, but understandably so. So next you see Andy and Diggle talking about their issues, about how he feels betrayed by Andy. And now Andy says, I did what I did because it's what made you happy, and that's what I wanted to do, and I faked it good enough to convince you. He says, but hey, man, this is who I am, basically, and this is what you have to accept. But Andy tells him, no, I still think you're that man that I saw, but hey, this is on me. And he convinces Andy to tell him a possible place to where he can find Damien Dark, and he gives him the address, Stonehaven. And Diggle says, hey, thank you. He says, don't thank me. You feel ashamed? I guess now we're even. So we see Speedy, Thea, talking to Macom, and he's telling her how he thanks her, how she freed him from himself, and how he thinks that she should just give in to whatever it is that she's got going on because it's pure and all this weird shit. She takes an arrow and she puts it up to his throat, and he says, "Yeah, just do it." And then the cops show up because Laurel called them to come get him because she still didn't feel like what Oliver was doing was right. So Oliver shows up to the hospital. He sees her mom there, and she gives him a look. He's like I know, I should have been here. I've just, he's how's Felicity, and she tells him that she's never going to walk again. He says, no, we'll find someone else. She says, no, that was the other doctor. There is no one else. She's never going to walk again, which really sucks. And he asks where she is, and no, she's in recovery. So we end up in another flashback scene. Oliver's still getting whipped, but the boss of the camp stops it because he notices the tattoo on his ribs is glowing, and the globe that was in the boss's hand was glowing. I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't know the guy's name. He's not in it enough for me to remember it. It's just not that important to me.
Kind of like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, too many characters to keep track of. He stops and says, "Hey, this guy is useful. I need him. We're not going to kill him." Everyone draws guns. Oliver gets a gun, and he's like, he's going to run. And Oliver's like, "I'm not going nowhere." And he puts the gun up to his chin. Next thing you know, you see Macom's vehicle that's driving. He's being transported by the police. Oliver saw the video when he was at the hospital, so he decides to bust him out. The guy says, "If you think I'm going to tell you where you can find him, you're wrong." Oliver raises his arrow. He shoots, breaks the cuffs. He says, "Just make sure he's dead." And he walks off. So you see them back at the Arrow Cave, and Oliver and Laurel are arguing. "Why'd you do that? That's wrong." He says, "No, you don't understand. This guy has killed people. We need to find Damien Darhk." And she talks about how it's a personal vendetta. Diggle shows up, says, "Hey, I understand you're going through stuff, and I got your play." He says, "But don't lose yourself. Don't lose the guy who made Felicity fall in love with you in the first place." Oliver mentioned that he put a tracker on Macom to follow so he could find where Damien Darhk was. But the tracker stopped. So they're like, "Okay, look, you need to go. You need to see Felicity. This is what you need to do." So Oliver goes to see Felicity, and he tells her that he's sorry that he wasn't there. And she says, "I understand, as long as you didn't go to Bali." He's like, "No, I didn't go to Bali." He tells her the reason that he's acting the way he is because he feels as if he doesn't feel like he is willing to go far enough to do what he has to actually kill Damien, and he feels like that's why she's in the situation that she's in, knowing that she can never walk again. And she tells him, don't, do what you have to, but just don't lose yourself doing it. So we have another flashback. Oliver says he'll help the guy find what he wants, only if the girl is put into safety. So he agrees. They end up being put in, he tells them to put him into a prison, and then it flashback to the current time. So they've already found out where he is, that being Macom. So they're going to Stonehaven. He's got Damien's wife and his daughter there tied up. He's threatening to burn them with this torch gun just to have fun because the guy's really crazy, but he knows that he's coming and he's going to wait for him. He's got this vendetta against him. You end up seeing Oliver and them showing up. They get there and they get in there. They help get Damien's wife and daughter out. They're fighting with Macom. He ends up running out, so they end up chasing him. But while chasing him, he gets away. So Thea follows him. You see over here is Damien Darhk, so obviously Oliver goes straight for Damien, and they start fighting. But Damien turns out to be way too much for Oliver to handle. Like, he didn't even have to touch him after Oliver gets a few good, really shots in. takes an arrow out using like magic and just starts stabbing Oliver with it. And while this is going on, Thea starts fighting with Maycomb, gets him up against a tree. He's like, just do it. Be that, let those animalistic whatever's out. She's like, I control myself. And he's like, no, you can't. She shoots an arrow at him, purposely missing. And he says, I'm disappointed in you that you didn't just kill me. So he knocks her out, or knocks her down, and runs off. So now he's in the wind. Back to Damien Darhk and Oliver. He's like, where's my family? He's like, I saved your family. He says, I'm going to be honest with you. I've already proved to you several times that you can't beat me and I'm more powerful than you. He says, but you saved my family. I give you a few weeks to be with yours. Enjoy the time. And he just walks off and Oliver just stands there. And I'm like, Oliver, you just shot him in the back with an arrow just now. Why didn't you do that? So we have a flashback scene. It's Oliver and Tani, I think is how it's pronounced. Tani's the girl. They're being put into the cell, and Conklin leaves them in there. And Oliver's hurt. He's bleeding, so she's like, we can't leave these wounds exposed. And he thanks her, and, she tries to help him, and that was the end of the flashback scenes for this episode. Then we see Diggle. Diggle he goes in there, and he's like, look, I'm done talking. He's like, I ain't here to talk. He just shows a deck of cards, he deals out some cards, and they start playing. And I'm guessing that was his way of saying that he's ready to move on and I guess try to work on whatever their relationship is. I kind of like that. I think that was a beautiful little moment. So we see Oliver back at the hospital with Felicity. She's telling him she's guessing Damien's not dead if he's still there. Oliver's like, oh, I want to go to Bali. She's like, yeah, let's go to Bali, but why would Damien be there? And they have a beautiful moment where she feels like because she ain't going to be walking in that, Oliver's not going to want her because of the vows and everything, and Oliver just puts the ring on her, and she says, hey, baby, I love you, and this is what I want. It was a beautiful moment. I'm not going to go into details because I would never be able to make it sound as good as it actually did. So big ups to the writers on that one. So we see Damien and his wife in a limousine, and, he's holding his daughter, while she sleeps. And she asks him about the man that, kidnapped him, and he says, oh, I got my men looking for him. I'm going to put you in this place. You'll be safe till we find him. And she says, oh, okay. He says, well, I hint a bit of sarcasm in your voice. She says, not about what you think. It's about the Green Arrow. You should have killed him tonight. He says, well, dear, like I said, he saved you and our daughter's life. He's like, again, in a way he said it would be kind of rude if he did it now. And she's like, okay, but I want it done. Like, she is a cynical woman. I didn't expect that either.
She's kind of like John Travolta's wife in The Punisher.
Yes. Like, she was like, no, kill him. Like, do it now. Okay. So the last scene, it's 4 months later. Oliver is leaving the gravesite. And this is the scene that kind of gives an idea of who's not in the grave. You see Oliver walking up to the limousine. He sits down in it. And Felicity's sitting in the limo. And he's just sitting there and says, he says, are you okay? And she says, are you okay? And he says, no. She says, then you know what you have to do. You have to kill the son of a bitch. And then it ends. So someone important to them did die. I don't know who it's going to be. I still want to know who's going to be in the grave. But now we're going to go over what we liked, what we didn't like. So, Ethan, we will start with you.
Yeah, first let me say something. You guys are probably wondering why wasn't Ethan talking for most of the episode? And this is the reason why. I was saving my thoughts till this point. I didn't want to say anything about what I thought until this point. I love the show so far. Here's actually the one that got me hooked onto it, and I just love the fact of seeing actually one of my favorite Smallville characters getting his own show, and not him running around with his shirt off for most of the time. No offense to the guy that played him in Smallville, but no, it's actually time to get serious into what I did like. I love the character development throughout the entire seasons that they've had so far. Um, I loved pretty much this episode. I had nothing wrong with it, but the fact of having too many flashbacks. I mean, I know that they've done it for the past how many seasons that there's been, like 4 or 3, and it just throws people off. Like, you're doing one point in this time period, and then you do a flashback, and you're got people completely lost. Do like 1 or 2 flashbacks an episode, and then stick to the present day.
Okay, do you want to get into negatives first, and then go into what you liked about the episode?
Yeah.
Because I'll say this, not to cut you off.
Yeah, that's good.
I will say I do like the flashbacks, like from the first 2 seasons, where you see Oliver on the island and you're learning about what happened. But then in season 3, him going to Hong Kong and everything, it just kind of threw it off. And there's times when the flashbacks in an episode work, and then there's times in an episode where they don't work. To me, this was one of those episodes, they didn't work. I don't think it really did much other than, okay, Oliver's tat is glowing, and it's got something to do with what the guy who's running that little base, what they want to do.
Yeah.
So in this episode, I don't know. I think they could have done something different. It's become too convoluted. When the hell do we get to Oliver with long hair again, stuck on the island?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want to say.
Man, but yeah, I know that came off as like a negative, which probably was. But
Nope, we can finish negatives. Go ahead.
some things I did like about the show. Again, I loved the character development. I loved who they picked for everyone that they played. But again, this episode had like 0 to no flaws, and that's all I have to say is that the show had like no flaws. And this is just me in my opinion. You guys have your own opinion, you have your own opinion, but to me this is my own opinion. And the show had no flaws, and each one of you guys can think whatever you want to think.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give what I liked about the show first. What I liked is I liked how they got Oliver back to a place where it kind of reminded me of the season 1 and the season 2 Oliver, where it's, I'm taking no BS. I'm going to do what I have to do. I also like the fact that they showed it's not Felicity in the grave, so we can put that to bed. They're not killing Felicity. It wouldn't make sense to the show to do it, and then what? You'd bring her back and have her be brought back with the Lazarus pit. It makes no sense to me. You just have a blood-loving Felicity running around. I will also say,
Then I think it would kind of piss off Oliver too.
yes, but that would be the point. Those, I think, are the 2 things I liked. I also like the fact that you finally see Diggle get to a point to where I think he's willing to forgive his brother and move past the fact that his brother was doing what he was doing, and hey, he understands this isn't the guy that I thought he was, but he's still my brother. Here's what I didn't like, and we're running short on time, so I want to get through this real quick. Like I said, I didn't like the flashbacks particular in this episode, and I did not like the back and forth between Laurel and him, and Laurel trying to be the moral compass of everything when Oliver clearly had an idea of what he wanted to do, and then when they were working on it, it was like, it just kind of got pushed to the side, like, oh yeah, we argued about this, and oh well, no one's right or wrong, we're past it now, woo, and it didn't get addressed further. It just didn't make sense, like, why'd they argue about it to begin with? I'm nitpicking at things that I didn't see a lot that I thought was bad. I'm sure there's others who are going to review this or watch it and be like, oh, no, you could have talked about this. And if those are the things if there's anything else you think was wrong or you liked, put it in the comments below. But I'm Zach.
I'm Wayne.
And thank you for watching this video. We are from the Yo Bro Gaming and Reviews. We hoped you liked this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up. Let us know what you thought. But you can subscribe to our channel at the Yo Bro Gaming and Reviews channel here on YouTube.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at Zach2002.
You can follow me on PlayStation Network at Punisher Slayer 19.
So, last time, put your comments below. Thank you for watching. God bless America. We will see you guys later.